Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan, and I am with Connor from Lore Party.
Hello, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thank you for coming back. So, Connor is a part of a podcast called Lore Party. Connor came back, or came on the show previously. About a year ago, we talked about Days Gone, which was awesome.
That was a great time.
Yeah, super cool. Oh, and I guess also we're here to talk about Grand Theft Auto 5, so that will be cool. Before we get into that game, though, I wanted to, roll out the carpet for Connor to tell us about Lore Party or other things he's got going on. You should definitely check his stuff out, though.
Sure, yeah. I am a host and producer with the Lore Party Podcast Network. It's a group of podcasts about video game storytelling, lore, backstories, characters, and universes from games that we love. And there's a few spin-off podcasts that you might also be familiar with under the Lore Party umbrella. We also have Winds Howling, which is about the Witcher franchise, both the books and the Netflix show. And there's Gom Jabbar, our big Dune conglomerate that covers some of the stories and lore from the Dune novels by Frank Herbert and some of the extended universe stuff. And, if you're hyped about the new movie coming out, it's never been a better time to get on the Gom Jabbar train. So, yeah, it's a lot of good stuff going on over at Lore Party. I'm super happy to be a part of that. And, I just throwing that out there. I am also a voice actor. You can find out more about that kind of stuff on my website, ConnorHowardVO.com, and check me out on Twitter. I'm ConnorHowardVO. Sorry. Check me out on Twitter at ConnorHowardVO. And don't be a stranger. Let's be friends.
Yeah.
And again, thanks again to Dan for having me here. This is it's always fun to talk about the greatest stories ever played.
Definitely. Oh, yeah. And also, I'll have links to all those things inside the show notes here. So if you want to check Connor's stuff out, definitely go do it. And check those links.
Excellent.
So, yeah. So cool. From here, we will jump into Grand Theft Auto 5. I've got a description here. Would you want to grab that, Connor?
Sure, of course. Happy to. Grand Theft Auto 5 tells the story of a young street hustler, a retired bank robber, and a terrifying psychopath who find themselves entangled with some of the most frightening and deranged elements of the criminal underworld, the U.S. government, and the entertainment industry, all coming together, and they end up having to pull off a series of dangerous heists to survive in a ruthless city in which they can trust nobody, least of all, each other.
Awesome. Thank you. And then background on the game, this is developed by Rockstar North, who's primarily known for the Grand Theft Auto series. They're kind of the main, runner for Rockstar when it comes to the Grand Theft Auto series, but then they also did support on the Red Dead Redemption games and stuff like that. So that's sort of how Rockstar is kind of divided up. So GTA is their wheelhouse, and by the time they've gotten to this one, they've made quite a few. That's some background. From here, we're actually going to do a new segment, which is exciting. People were asking for a kind of non-spoiler up front. What do we think about the game before we dive into our spoilers, deeper recap, all of that stuff. So introducing to you all now, I guess for the first time, is the non-spoiler section. So kind of things that, huge. We did it. And so, stuff that... doesn't spoil the game, maybe notable stuff kind of going in. So one thing I have off top that I think is important probably for how people might view how I view this game, which is this is the first Grand Theft Auto game I've ever played in any real way.
Wow.
I know in high school or middle school, I would go to friends' houses and fuck around and try to get 5 stars or whatever and have the army try to kill you. But I never played the games and in any real way, and didn't know that it could have such a in-depth story and world and stuff like that, because my only experience had been really fucking around. So that was pretty cool to kind of learn that here.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's it's so funny to have that parallel of I have a pretty long history with GTA, but I think it started in kind of the same way you might have experienced it. Like, I was a kid, probably should not have been playing these games. And it was when the original Grand Theft Auto was on PlayStation 1, the original PlayStation. And, like, my older cousin had it. And I would be at their house, my aunt and uncle's house, and I would, like, just turn on the cheat codes. And, yeah, like you said, Dan, try to just get 5 stars and screw around and just kill people. And just, not really take the game seriously, not experience the story at all. But later on, I did actually spend quality time with these games. I think, like, Grand Theft Auto 3 on PS2 I played a ton of and actually worked my way through a lot of the story. Same with Vice City and San Andreas. Those were big ones. Like, those were games I actually sat down and legitimately played on my PS2, which I was probably like maybe 14, 15 years old at the time. So yeah, Vice City and San Andreas were big for me. I did also play GTA 4 on the PS3. It was a really strong game. I actually have a lot of great memories of that game. So when GTA 5 came around, like, I was pretty familiar with Grand Theft Auto, and I'd experienced the stories of, like, Tommy Vercetti in Vice City and CJ Johnson in San Andreas and Nico Bellic in GTA 4. So, like, by the time I'm introduced to these new characters in GTA 5, I'm like, I'm ready to get to know them and really live in their shoes, and I was excited. So it's funny to have that kind of back and forth. Like, yeah, like, I'm all about Grand Theft Auto, but, like, it's cool to know someone came into GTA 5 blind, like this was their first Grand Theft Auto. That's cool.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to make for something cool. Talking about this is, I would say, hearing that history, you're very seasoned at Grand Theft Auto, and so there are a lot of things that are familiar, probably things you catch that someone like me certainly wouldn't, or just different sort of comparative things. I guess, I don't know if you could make a judgment call on that right now, but how would GTA 5 stack up to your previous experiences? Like, is GTA 5 like top 3? Is it one of your favorites? Is it more in the middle based on what you've played? Like, how would you kind of feel?
That's a great question. Yeah, I might have to get back into this a little later in, like, final thoughts, but just right now, like, I honestly would probably have to say GTA 5 is actually not one of my favorites. Like, it's not that's not to say that I didn't like it, obviously. It's like, just if I had to rank these games, like, I just think maybe simply because of nostalgia, I'd have to put Vice City and San Andreas kind of like tied for first, and then maybe GTA 4 at second place, and then I think 5 is probably third. I would put 5 definitely above GTA 3 just because of, like, just how much the series has developed and evolved over time, and, like, quality of life improvements and technology and all that. But I just have so many memories of Vice City and San Andreas that GTA 5 is just it's hard for it to stack up. And maybe I'd put it above 4, maybe I'd put it in second place, but it's definitely not my favorite. But I still love a lot of things about GTA 5. It's just hard. It's just because, like, it's a nostalgia thing. But that's a great question. I'll have to think about that some more.
No, that's cool. I that's good to kind of know where you're coming from. I feel like that nostalgia would be hard to beat too. Of, like, okay, if you're playing these when you're 15, 16, 17, you have more time, you've lived in the worlds even longer than, like, you would have got to for this one, or, different stuff like that. So I feel like that's interesting. That's pretty cool to hear. And I think all of those have really big cultural relevance. So it's like, I'm aware of, like, CJ from San Andreas or something, even though I've never played the game. I know who he is, or, things like that. So that's cool. One other thing I've got kind of as a general thought for this game is I feel like this game, when it's good, it's really, really good. Like, some of the best parts of this game are, could even be among some of the best parts of games I've played. Like, some of the stuff is very, very fun. But there's some other times where it could feel like a chore, where it would be like padding. Like, there's, this isn't a real spoiler, so I'll say it, but there's, like, a heist that at one point in the game where you have to, like, go and buy clothes for it, go buy a mask for it, like, things like that, and you're like, what the fuck? Just give me that stuff. Like, it felt like
fetch quests.
It felt fetch quest, but in, like, the least fun way. Like, it was like, man, if you like trim the game down a little more, I think that for someone like me, that would maybe have hit more. I will say, on the opposite side, is it does seem like a lot of people can spend hours and hours and hours and hours in GTA, more than I would, and I'm sure that extra time wouldn't bother them. But for me, I was like, come on, why do I have to do these parts of this? Like, let me do the fun stuff. So I felt like some of that felt like a chore at points to me of having to do the fetch quest.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I would actually agree on some level in the sense that my general takeaway with just time spent with Grand Theft Auto 5 is that I really feel you on the when it's good thing, because there are so many high moments, like high points, so many highlights and set pieces in this game that just really leave you with amazing memories. But then there's also there's the busy work, and there is that sense of, I remember, like, I'll be honest, it's been a long time since I played this game. I played it when it first came out on PS3, and so like it was a while ago, but I do remember feeling like, okay, am I done with this yet? Like, have I have I beaten it yet? Like, how many more shootouts can I do before it? Yeah, I was like, there is that. It kind of started to grind on me a little bit, started to get a little bit boring, but like then some like cool new set piece heist or whatever would take place. I'm like, okay, this is pretty awesome. So yeah, there's a bit of a roller coaster effect, but also a little bit of the busy work effect. So I'm with you on that. But I think generally, like, my favorite thing about this game as a non-spoiler is just like it does such a good job of creating that vibe of living in a busy, chaotic city where you feel like it's alive. You know, the atmosphere is amazing, and I'll come back to that later. But it does give you that when it's the high points and the low points. You get a bit of both with this.
Yeah, no, I think you are right. It does really feel alive. It doesn't, like, the NPCs don't totally feel like just totally generic people, like, all the time or something like that, or like what's going on, you know. Like, I one time I was just driving, like, not doing anything bad, and then I saw the cops pull over some dudes in a shootout stop, so I was like, all right, I'll get in on this. So I shot the cops too. Which, you know, it was cool. The crime was going on around me, like, I wasn't a part of it, but I was like, sure, I'll do this. Like,
yeah, like, I remember thinking back to, you know, the years ago I first played. I was like walking around town, and I just go into this alleyway, and some guys come up and mug me, and I could just whip my gun out and blow them away. I was like, okay, that was a cool moment. Like, I'm just glad I could just walk into that. That was kind of fun. It was like a ambient thing that happened. That was cool.
Yeah. I think that's something that is really cool about this game. That's a really good point. Is the city's really alive. The environment, all of that is cool. My last non-spoiler thought is, I think a big thing in this game are the radio stations. So, I mean, there's probably like, I don't know, 10 with music, and then other ones with talk radio and stuff like that. And they have different, like, famous people be like the DJ host and stuff like that. So, I mean, it goes, like, I would say reasonably in depth, which is pretty cool. So for me, my favorite radio station that was on there was the West Coast Classics. So this was things like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, NWA, that sort of stuff. So I liked listening to that. That was music I really liked listening to in high school. So it was fun to jump on this and be like, oh, cool. Throwing back some music that I hadn't listened to in a while. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah, no, the radio in all Grand Theft Auto games has always been a huge element that is so memorable. And, like, it comes back to that creating the vibe and the atmosphere of the city that I think the radio does a lot of the work for that. Like, in GTA 4, I would literally just sit in the car in this game and, like, just listen to some of those Liberty City radio stations. GTA 5's radio stations didn't stick out to me as much, but they were still really quality if you, like, went out of your way to listen to them and spend some time with them. Of course, West Coast Classics, that's great. That's, you know, 90s hip-hop, that's old school hip-hop. I love that stuff. But I think the stations I liked the most in 5 were Vinewood Boulevard Radio. That's kind of like modern rock, bit of the hippie stuff, like, or hipster stuff, like the OCs and the Black Angels. I love that stuff. So yeah, that's what I spent most of my time with the dial on. But Los Santos Rock Radio, it's a good one too. Just kind of classic rock, you know, like a bit of the, like, Tom Petty and just West Coast oldies like Bob Seger, you know, Phil Collins, just Queen, you know, the good shit. So, no, there's so much good stuff on the radio in these games. Gotta love it.
No, yeah, there really is. Because, like, I thought that was something that was kind of fun, is each character, like, that you really played as, you know, they had certain radio they would listen to, but then, you know, all the people you carjack are like listening to whatever they
Yeah,
listen to.
I love that. Yeah, like, oh, this guy was listening to the pop station. That's cool. I just stole his car.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was pretty fun. And so probably like the first, I don't know, maybe half or even 3/4 of the game, I just listened to whatever the person was on. And then near the end, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go all West Coast radio. I feel like I've heard a lot of the radio now. But I thought that was cool. I guess also related to radio, something that is pretty fun in this is they've got a lot of like good parody ads of different things. Like, gosh, what was it? It's not this, but like paranoid news or like, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like they have a lot of good parodies of things. Their commercials are funny. Like they do like you said, they do a lot with their radio. Like, and yeah, it really, really works.
Yeah. It's an amazing dimension to the atmosphere of the game. Like radio's huge. I love that.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I would say that kind of covers some of our non-spoiler thoughts getting into this game. So from here, we are kind of going to go full spoilers from here on. So if you haven't played the game and you aren't sure, I'd maybe go play it or maybe listen until you're like, okay, I think I want to play or whatever. So before we can really talk about the story, I think it's important to do just a quick rundown of some of your characters. As we've mentioned, GTA 5 has a huge world. There are a lot of people in it. A lot of them are like NPCs who you don't know, but then there are other named characters. Then there's sort of your more important named characters. So we'll run through some of those highlights. So our first playable character is Michael Townley, who is going by Michael DeSanta when we meet him. He's a former professional bank robber who's retired, quote unquote. So he's just kind of living in a mansion, like kind of trying to stay out of the way, and that's more or less his gig when we meet him. Then we've got Trevor Phillips. He's a longtime best friend of Michael, also a professional bank robber, and he's super unhinged. Very violent, angry, maybe the most crass character I've ever seen. He's something else.
Yeah, he's
yeah. And then we've got Franklin. He's a young black guy who's, it seems like, kind of getting into the street life. Like he isn't like a head of a gang or something like that, but he's kind of getting his feet wet in that world. And then we've got Amanda, Jimmy, and Tracy. Amanda's Michael's wife, and then Jimmy and Tracy are his kids, who are both early 20s, probably.
Yeah, either late teens, early 20s, kind of in that.
And then we've got Lamar. That's Franklin's like close friend who's from his neighborhood, and they get in hijinks together. And then we've got Lester. He's a longtime associate of Trevor and Michael, and he's kind of the game planner for your heist. He's kind of the guy who, I don't know, makes things happen behind the scenes. And
he's like the Danny Ocean, planner of like the strategist of like how you break into places, steal stuff, and get out clean. He's like the brains of the outfit. He's an interesting guy.
Yep, yeah, he's definitely an interesting side character. You've got Dave Norton. He's an FBI agent who's older, and then you've got Steve Haynes. He's an FBI agent who's Dave's boss. And then you've got Devin Weston, who's a billionaire, who you interact with a bit through the game as well. So those, I would say, would cover your most main characters. There are other characters we might name along the way, but I would say that those are your main who's who for the game. I thought this would also be a good time to talk about our favorite character. So who's your favorite character in this game?
I gotta go with Michael. He's just, I don't know. There's something about him I gravitate towards. I love his just kind of grumpy, over it attitude. Like everything just kind of exhausts him, and he's this guy who's trying to like go clean, live a straight life, and put a violent, shady past behind him. But he has these tendencies that he can't shake. And like I think one of the first times we see him, one of the early scenes, is he's in therapy. He's like sitting there on the couch, like talking to a psychiatrist, and like just trying to just sort out daily life. Like this is a guy who knocked over armored cars and like made the scores. He was a trigger man. He was like a career criminal for a long time, and here he is trying to figure out how to have a balanced, well-adjusted just home life and marriage and things like that, and it's crazy. So I just love like going through what he goes through with him, and I don't know, there's just something about his attitude and voice, and his mocap and voice actor Ned Luke. I just really like what he brought to the character. Just like, yeah, it just has that exhaustion and sort of there's a wisdom to him though too. He's a bit of a wise man character, and like the way he sort of mentors Franklin too, I really like that dynamic. I don't know, he just really sticks out to me.
No, yeah, he is really interesting because he's even from the moment you meet him, he definitely feels like he's like the boss kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like he's the kind of guy who can like run shit. He's good at doing big picture things, like all of that. And I think you do, like you said, you do meet him in a pretty interesting spot because it's like you used to have this wild life, and now you kind of have to chill out, but you have a lot of money, but you don't have anything you do, so he's just like bored.
Yeah, he's disaffected, bored, but like he has to stay out of trouble though because of how he's basically under witness protection. So like he has to just maintain a low profile, but he doesn't know how. He doesn't know how to do that. It's funny,
right?
And like, it's hard not to think of like, kind of like the Tony Soprano character, you know, of like he's a fucking mob boss and he has to go to therapy and like figure out how to maintain a family life, and none of it really makes sense to him. I love that dynamic. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, no, definitely. I thought he was a really good character.
What about you though? Who's your favorite?
For me, I would go with Trevor, and not because he's a good person, he's far from it, but instead I think just because he's like chaos embodied. Like I felt like every time I played him, or when when you jump characters to him, I'd be like, all right, what the fuck's gonna happen next? Like, and so I felt like he really kept everything pretty interesting, of like, okay, what's going to happen with him? What's he going to do now? Which was pretty fun. And I like that a lot about him. I think that Michael or Franklin are definitely better people. And if I were required to be friends with one of them, I would certainly choose them over Trevor. But I think Trevor just kept like all right, what's he going to do? Or what like absurd thing will he say that I would never think of, like all of that. So
such a loose cannon, and yeah, always keeps you on your toes for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I found myself just being like laughing with surprise with so many things that he did or said. So
I don't know how familiar you are with Trevor's actor, the mocap and voice guy. His name is Stephen Ogg, just OGG, and he is a riot just in everything he's in. He was on The Walking Dead. He was on Westworld. He actually had a scene in Better Call Saul that was really cool. He's such an amazing actor. He's so funny, and there's this moment from like a Comic-Con or something where the guys from GTA 5 are on a panel, and someone like has his phone up and he's like, "Hi Steven, do you mind just telling me to fuck off, like, to my camera, please?" Like, as Trevor. Like, Steven literally like jumps up from the table, runs down the aisle at this kid, and just like gets in his face and screams into his camera phone, "Go fuck yourself!" Or something. He's so fucking funny. He's so awesome.
That's amazing.
And he's basically Trevor in real life. Like, yeah, he just basically acted as himself for the role of Trevor. It was great.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. I saw him in Walking Dead. Like, when I watched him when he was on that, and I thought he was great on that show. And I remember listening to a podcast that was like, oh, his character is Trevor from GTA, but I hadn't played GTA yet. And so I was like, cool. And so I was kind of like wondering for it, and it was great. Now I want to actually like watch those scenes of him in shows now, because I liked him in Walking Dead or Better Call Saul or Westworld. Like, I thought they were all cool parts, and I was like, ooh, Stephen Ogg. So it's fun to now have experienced Trevor. I would love to go back to like see that again, because, spending time with Trevor in GTA is far more time than he was on any of those shows, getting to spend 30 or 40 hours with him or whatever. So it's super awesome. Yeah, that's great. Oh, I guess also I didn't say this off top, but you play as Michael, Trevor, and Franklin. And so through the game, you do kind of bounce between them. Some of them have missions that are like them focused. Other times you can choose who you want to be. And, they each have their main missions, but then they can have side stories, or, if you just want to drive around and fight people or something, like, you can just do that as whichever one you want, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
that was a really cool new thing they did with GTA 5, because every previous title there was just one protagonist you'd play as the whole time. And
really?
in Vice City you're always Tommy Vercetti, and San Andreas you're always CJ. GTA 4 you're always Nico. So like the idea of moving back and forth between 3 protagonists was a pretty big innovation, which I think paid off really well. Like it was a cool idea. It's a cool quirk.
That's okay. I didn't know that. That is cool. And based on only playing this, I would have thought they always did it. Like it felt really natural. So they definitely nailed that.
I agree.
That's cool. We've got a little bit of thoughts from people on Twitter about their favorite characters. Gurmund on Twitter said Michael was their favorite character, so same spot as you.
Mm-hmm. Nikki on Twitter, shout out to Nikki, by the way. What's up, Nikki? Nice to hear from you. Says, Franklin is a cool dude and definitely one I'd call a fave, but I do have a weird soft spot for Trevor. He's the worst, and that's kind of brilliant. To have a protagonist be that way. 100% agree. That's what we love. That's what we love about Trevor. He's a lot, but he's fun.
Mm-hmm. And then Chris on Twitter said, love the Karen Daniels cameo, which I was doing a little reading online, and I think she's a FBI agent from one of the previous GTA games.
Oh, okay. Actually doesn't ring a bell to me.
Okay. I think I saw a thing that said she was in maybe like GTA 4 or something like that, but she was only in like one mission for this, so she wasn't around very long, but I think there's maybe a spot where there's like an interrogation or
you know what?
Something like that where you like see her.
Karen Daniels. Actually, let me Google that. I think I might know who she was.
Okay.
Karen Daniels. If she's who I'm thinking of.
I guess also, I don't remember if this is the character's name or the actor's. I'm not sure.
Oh, shit. Okay, I'm getting it now. Okay, I get it. All right, I am caught up. My brain is working. Karen Daniels is... that's actually a really cool cameo I never caught up on. I never noticed that. But in Grand Theft Auto 4, when you play as Nico Bellic, who is, just for context, he's an Eastern European immigrant who just comes to America to, like, you know, for a lot of reasons, but mostly he's just trying to figure out how to make a life for himself. He meets this girl, and she says her name is Michelle, and Nico goes on a date with her. And they go out a few times, and then it turns out that Michelle's name is actually Karen Daniels, and she's like an FBI agent, and she was using Nico to like get closer to, you know, whoever. And so then I guess she shows up again in Grand Theft Auto 5, and she's like a higher ranking government agent now. So that's crazy. I never put that together, but
that's cool.
It is a cool call.
That's awesome.
Sure.
That's great. I bet that's something that could be cool about these universes too, that you could probably hop those. Like if we, if a GTA 6 ever happens, like they could probably throw someone from this game into that one if they wanted, cool. Which is cool. Yeah, cool options. But great. Okay, so those are our characters. So from here, we will jump into kind of a recap of the game. Since this is an open world game, of course, you may play things in pretty different orders than we did. You might do shit that we didn't do, you know, all of that stuff. Because really, there's far more in this game than what we'll talk about. I think what we've got are largely kind of your main story beats, but, you know, there are a lot of side quests. There are a lot of orders you can do things in, too. Like, there are certain points where the game won't let you progress farther, but you can go pretty far just doing, you know, whatever you want for a while. So, I guess that to say, your experience may be different or maybe in somewhat different order than what we talk about. But, I guess with that, we will begin. So the game begins, and you've got Michael, Trevor, and Brad in the middle of a botched bank robbery, which was a great way to start this game. I was immediately in. We're in the middle of a robbery, and during it, a security guard manages to get one of the dudes held up, and then one of them shoots him. I think Trevor kills the security guard who maybe had Michael.
Sounds like something.
Right? Yeah. Sounds like Trevor for sure. And so they, break out. They thought they were gonna have like a clean bank robbery. Instead, shit's going down. They run out, and there are a bunch of cops to meet them there. They shoot their way through cops. They make it to their getaway car, in their getaway car, the driver gets killed, and they like toss his body out while they keep going. Like it's a shit show. Their robbery has not gone how they want it at all. And during their kind of escape too, the car gets messed up. I think that it skids off the road, and it doesn't hit a train, right?
I don't think so. Yeah, the tires get shot out or something. Like, I remember like the weather was really bad too. I think it was like snowing really heavily in that scenario as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, for one reason or another, they have to abandon the car and escape on foot. But that also goes very badly. I mean, Brad gets shot. Michael gets shot. They're penned in by the cops. You know, there seems to be like no way out. The shit is going sideways, and the only one who manages to escape from that situation is Trevor. So the curtains kind of close on, you know, Brad and Michael. They might be dead or at least arrested. Like, things are bad, and Trevor's the only one who gets away. And yeah.
Yep.
That's when we get the flash forward.
Yeah. Hell of an opening. I was like, okay, I was like, okay, are any of these people going to like be around after this? Like, I had no idea what I was getting into. It was awesome. And you pick up present day with Franklin. And Franklin and Lamar work for a guy named Simeon, who is basically like a shady car dealer. And what they do is they repo cars that are late on payments. And as time goes, you find out late is subjective and maybe means not at all. And he just repos cars that he sold before and says they were late. So that's kind of one of their jobs. Another thing they do is they try to kidnap a member of a rival gang called the Ballas. And in that as well, they try to do a drug deal with their friend Stretch with the Ballas that also goes badly and have some gun battles and stuff. Stretch is a guy who was from their neighborhood, who's a little older than them, and was in jail but has gotten out recently. And so he's kind of come back to the block, and they're like, oh, you guys are, you know, the little dudes and I'm in charge. And they're like, no, we grew up while you were gone, but sure, I guess we'll work with you, kind of thing. So that's sort of kind of the vibe you get with meeting Franklin.
You get the impression Franklin is, not a little dissatisfied with street life. I mean, I could be remembering a different way, but like, I got the impression that like, yeah, Franklin grew up in this environment and he's still tied to it in some ways, especially through Lamar. But I think there's that impression that he wants more. Like, he wants to go legit. He wants to, like, you know, do better things with his life, do bigger things with his life. And he kind of gets that chance, or at least he takes a step in that direction when he goes in to repossess a car that happens to belong to Michael. So yeah, he breaks into this really nice looking house, and he's basically stealing this car from Michael's garage, not knowing that it belongs to Michael. And it's really funny. He like drives it out of the garage, and Michael turns out to be in the back seat and just like sits up, and you know, like I don't know. You might have to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but doesn't he like put a gun to the back of Franklin's head while he's in the driver's seat, and, like, turn us around and take me back to my house or something like that? Like, he just basically catches Franklin stealing this car, and so they that's how they meet. And you don't have to fill in the gaps for me, but that's sort of how they first meet. And you know, some stuff. Franklin takes the car back to the dealership, and it turns out that Michael's son Jimmy owed money on it or something, or didn't actually pay for it or whatever, something like that.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. Michael like waited in the car. He figured out what was up and holds up Franklin, and is like, Franklin's like, my boss said you were behind on the payments. And Michael's like, all right, let's see that fucking boss. Like, you know, he's so he's not having it, and so he makes Franklin take him there, and then he drives Jimmy's car through the dealership, like through the glass walls. And Simeon like tries to yell at Michael, and Michael's like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you and keep coming back and doing this if you don't like fuck off, basically. And Simeon's like, okay, I won't call the cops. And for Franklin, right, as
Yeah.
for Franklin, he's like, all right, who's this dude? Like, I wanted to get onto better things, and this dude is crazy. If he'd do this stuff, maybe he's got something. And Michael kind of tells Franklin, like, hey, if you ever need a job and want to like upgrade and do real stuff, let me know. I could probably figure something out for you. And so shortly thereafter this, Franklin comes over to see Michael, and it's like, all right, I can't work at my dealership job that I got fired from because
Yeah.
the car went through the glass. So I don't have that job. And, doing small level street shit has not been successful. It seems like it basically causes problems, but you don't really get that much money from it. So I think he's like, okay, maybe this is a new door. And so he goes to meet Michael. And while Michael and him are having a beer, Jimmy calls and says, hey, Dad, I tried to sell your boat, but then these guys just carjacked me and stole the boat, and I'm stuck in the boat. Come help. And so Michael, understandably, is pissed. He's like, Franklin, I've got a job right now. Let's go get my
Jimmy's
son.
nothing but trouble. Like, you quickly learn that Jimmy's a piece of shit. And, he's always getting in trouble. And, like Michael and Franklin have to just go after them and get this boat back. They managed to rescue Jimmy from his kidnappers, but they lose the boat, which is a shame because it was a beautiful boat, like a nice big yacht and all that. They later, Michael and Franklin continue to hang out, and they later find out that Amanda, Michael's wife, if you met her for a second, you're not going to be surprised by this. She's banging her tennis coach behind Michael's back. She's cheating on him, and they find him there, and they chase him to his house on the hills, Vinewood Hills. They can't call them Hollywood Hills, but that's what it is. And they're like, you know what? This guy's a douchebag. We're gonna fuck with his house, and they decide to just pull his house off of the hill. Like they break the stilts that are holding the house up, and it's so funny and satisfying. This douchebag tennis coach is like, no, not my house, and everything's it's a good time for a minute, and then the good times end when they find out that that house was actually owned by a big-time drug dealer named Martin Madrazo. And so now Michael finds himself seriously in debt to a scary drug lord. Not a good situation to be in.
Not at all. I think you're right on too. Is it went from being really fun, right? You're like, hell yeah, we pulled this dude's house down, like feeling kind of on top of the world. You're like, all right, no one can do shit. And then you get back to Michael's house, and a bunch of dudes show up, and a dude hits you with a bat, and Martin Madrazo is like, so that house will probably cost, $10 million or whatever to replace. So you're going to have that to me in a month, right? And Michael's like, yeah.
What he should have said.
I guess so. I'm sorry. I didn't know.
And it was really funny. And, unfortunately, that argument didn't fly. So, he finds himself, he needs to put together a lot of money and not a lot of time.
Yeah. So Michael's like, all right, fuck.
Back in the game.
I was out of the game, but I got myself into some shit. So now he's back. And so he gets in contact with Lester Crest, who we talked about earlier. That was Michael's member of Michael's old group of bank robbers. Lester was the guy who planned the heist, was really good at kind of knowing when security would come, how much time they'd have, exit routes, all that stuff. Super smart. And so he goes and hits Lester up and is like, hey, I need to make some cash, and I imagine you're the guy who could help me find the way to get it. And Lester this is where I think this officially gets revealed. Lester had thought Michael was dead, but had been a little suspicious because he'd seen some things. So what we find is that Michael had, after that bank robbery at the beginning of the game, Michael had kind of faked his death and essentially given his portion of the loot, or some of it, to one of the FBI agents, and then went under he's in fake witness protection because one FBI agent who gets paid by Michael knows Michael's alive, and so it's sort of a shady thing like that. But Michael,
it's off the books with witness security. It's not an official arrangement. It's kind of under the table shady deal that it's functionally the same as witness security, but it's
right. Yeah, Michael should be in jail, but because he had this money, he's been able to work something out. So him and Lester are planning But Lester agrees to help after Michael will do one thing for him, which is to plant a bomb on this new device for a company called Life Invader, which I think is essentially their Facebook, which is pretty funny. And in it, basically, is Michael like sneaks into their office. He puts like a bomb inside of a phone during a demo of the new like device for Life Invader. Michael sets it off and it kills the dude on camera, which was pretty funny, even though it was fucked up, but it was good. And part of why Lester wanted to do this is he didn't like that guy, but also Lester like games the stock market. You find out that this is kind of a thing he'll do is, he'll put a bunch of money into a result from that. So like he'll put a bunch of money into something that would be anti-Life Invader. So when this happens, Lester's money goes up, kind of thing. So that's
you can like short stock, like bet on it to go down, and then like he can short the Life Invader stock and then make money when the guy's head gets blown off on TV.
Right.
That's how he makes his money, I guess. Lester's a genius, man. He knows what he's doing.
He's super smart. He really knows his shit. And so Michael and Lester, though, from here discovered that a jewelry store would be a good heist. They don't have a lot of security, all of that stuff. This would be a good way to get kind of maximum cash without a lot of risk. Since, Michael needs money, but he doesn't, have to go do like the biggest job ever. He just needs to get something to be able to get this house kind of going for.
Just needs a pay.
Yep. So this leads us to our first heist. So through this game, you have a variety of heists. I would say they're one of the cooler parts of the game for sure. And something that's cool about them is Lester will give you kind of storyboards as to how to do them. And so he'll like roll out, okay, here's the heist. We could go this way or that way. And he'll give you two options that are pretty different from one another. And then accompanying them, you'll have sort of side tasks you might need to do to accomplish them. So like this one, you'll need this kind of vehicle, or this one, you might need this kind of gun, or, whatever. And then included in that, you'll have various members of your crew who will be a part of your team who are like, this one you need a gunman, this one you need 2 drivers, this one you need a hacker, like that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And you put together a crew to match your plan to go with your heist. And your members of your crew basically vary in skill and how much money they would get. So like if you want to go cheap where they get like 5% of the cut, they're probably not that good of a gunman, but it's less money, versus you might have another guy who's 12% of the cut, but they're actually a good gunman. So that's sort of your how heists are set up.
Yeah, it's a really cool system. It's like, you have to make that kind of a judgment call of like, do I want to have a smaller cut when all this is over, get less money out of it, but a better chance of it going smoothly. It's kind of like, do you hire for quality, and like, where can you skimp and where can you? It's fun. It's a nice system.
It is. It's really cool. I really like when those get presented, and I think Lester does such a good job of like doing it. Like he's like, all right, this, like that. It's very cool. So that I guess leads us to our big question of how do we approach the jewelry store heist? He gives us 2 options. How did you go about this when you played?
I think the first time I definitely did the smart approach. I just thought like, I'm a sucker for like those, like Ocean's 11, Logan Lucky, like heist movies where like no one dies, no one gets shot. It's just like, you just finesse your way to a lot of money and just like swindle people, and like it's cool. I like that approach. It sounds classy, and I don't know, just the idea of like, hey, I think the smart approach in the jewelry store heist involved dropping gas grenades into the vent system to like just knock everyone unconscious inside the store, so you can just go in and clear out the shelves and the cases. And I was like, that sounds awesome. Like, so yeah, I'm pretty sure I did the smart approach that first time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Same here. I think I feel the same way of like, it feels a little classier. Also like staying low profile. Like right. I don't really want to kill randos if I can help it. Like I'm all for killing bad people, all that sort of stuff. But I was like, jewelry store, like I don't want to like shoot a teller or whatever. Like I don't want to have to do that if I can help it.
Yeah, and I think even just from like a role playing perspective, like if you're playing as Michael, you're kind of in Michael's shoes. I feel like that's what he would do. Like, he would want to approach it intelligently. Like, he's, like we said, he's kind of trying to live a double life now. He's faked his death. He doesn't want to bring heat on himself, so he would go about it the most subtle, quiet, most low impact way possible, probably. So I think that influenced my decision as well back then.
Yeah, that's a good point. This definitely feels like the way Michael would probably do it, because especially like his first crime back in the game.
Right.
Like, it's not like he's gonna want people to know, like, hey, the bank robber's back in town.
This was me, Michael Townley. I did this to you. I'm shooting you in the face.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That doesn't feel very much how I think he would do it either. Nikki on Twitter wrote in, and she said, pretty sure the first playthrough I did silent approach with the gas, so like us. She said, on my current one, though, I did the loud approach, and that was definitely fun, too. So, smart one, as we mentioned, basically you steal an exterminator van, you steal some gas grenades, so you kind of drop those in, everyone passes out, you run, smash and grab, and then run off from there, and run to some motorcycles, and then kind of go through some tunnels and, I don't know, evade people that way, basically, is your aim. The loud approach is you go and you rob the police to steal a bunch of carbine rifles. So that's pretty crazy. And so, you just run in with tons of firepower. The security guard, that anyone there is like, all right, we're not going to fuck with you.
I will get on the ground right now.
We're just outgunned kind of thing. So that's sort of your other option. So the heist involves, so you've got Michael, Franklin joins you. This is his first time working with you. You have a driver, a gunman, and a hacker. And in mine, I chose the cheapest gunman because I was like, okay, I should probably save somewhere. And so I thought, well, I don't want to pay a gunman that much because I hope no one's shooting. Like, I'm going the quiet approach. But during this one, that person ends up crashing their motorcycle and dying during the escape. But as Franklin, you can scoop up his haul, which I did, so that was good. We didn't lose any haul, but we did lose a guy.
I'm pretty sure the exact same thing happened in my playthrough. I think, I paid like the cheapest gunman, and he crashed his bike. I don't know, maybe it was just different in my playthrough, but I think he just got arrested, but like... He didn't crash and drop his bag of jewelry though, but yeah, it's cool. Like, as Franklin, you can sort of fix you can make the clutch save and fix the problem and save the loot. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's exactly the same thing that happened in that game.
Okay, awesome. That's funny. We thought we could skimp on the same spot. I like that too because it brought, things can go down with your crew. Yeah. I'm really glad that they had that as an option in there because after that I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't go budget for my crews.
Things can go wrong on these jobs. You can't plan out everything perfectly.
Yeah, which I thought was great. And I guess also before that, something you see with Michael is that he's like such a professional when it's time to do this. He's like, okay, no names anymore. We just do letters. So he calls Franklin F. And really has like this shit down to a science. Like when you do this first robbery, you're like, okay, Michael knows what the fuck he's doing. Like he's like so efficient. He has it down. But one thing he does, unfortunately, he can't give up his old ways, which is when he is leaving, there's like a security guard who walks out and tries to stop him. And Michael says, hey, you forget 1,000 things every day. Make this one of them.
Catchphrase. Yeah.
Catchphrase. And later, the news is interviewing this police officer, and he says, this dude, he said some creepy ass shit to me. He said, and it stuck with me because I was spooked.
Yeah, he repeats the thing back to him. That news report just happened to be playing on a TV in front of Trevor.
Yes, who also recognizes it, as would everyone who knows Michael. So Michael definitely fucked up as he played his cards as to who he was, because
I think back during the beginning scene, the robbery that kicks off the game. Like I think during that situation, Michael says like the exact same thing to a security guard in front of Trevor. So Trevor recognizes this thing that Michael says. And so he's at home in his trailer. I'm pretty sure he's balls deep in
I think you're right.
All the time. Like Yeah, he's just banging some chick in his kitchen, and like he sees the TV on, and he hears the cops say, "Yeah, he told me make sure this is one of them. Make sure you forget." Like, just repeats the phrase, and Trevor's like, "Motherfucker, Michael's alive!" And like, you know, he just sort of like gets this idea in his head, like Michael's not dead after all, and so he's he kind of goes on this mission that sort of kicks off a series of events where Trevor tracks down Michael once again, and you know, we'll get to that in a minute, but that does introduce us in the game to Trevor. That's kind of how we join him in the
you get back to Trevor from this, which I feel like for Michael though, it would be hard to give up that catchphrase. That's cool as hell.
I couldn't stop myself from saying it.
Oh yeah, if that was my catchphrase, I would be like, I'm saying this all the time. But when he said it, I was like, that's cool as fuck. And then it got repeated on the news, and I was like, okay, it's not as cool. But yes, Trevor hears this and is pissed because Trevor had thought Michael was dead. And so the way Trevor processes his emotions is he goes and kills a motorcycle club he's been beefing with.
Just wipes out an entire MC. Yeah, why not? The whole motorcycle gang's gone. That's the kind of guy Trevor is. He can just delete an entire gang from existence if he feels like it. That's who he is.
Yeah. It's like he's mad about Michael, and he's like, all right, I'm going to settle this beef. Fuck these guys. He just kills the MC. He's like, okay, well... I wrote down Trevor does some desert shit. That's funny.
Yeah, he just does Trevor. Yeah,
that's funny. Yes, that is summarizes Trevor. Trevor has been living in the desert since its bank robbery, and basically has kind of engaged in low-level crime. But I think being angered by Michael basically gives him the impetus of, okay, I'm going to take over the desert. You know.
Yeah, he sort of like has this weird existence where he just does petty crimes where he can, scrapes together some money where he can, but he has these delusions of grandeur where he's like, I'm president and CEO of Phillips Industries or something. Like, he has this like weird way he refers to his low-level smuggling and like whatever else stuff he does, and yeah, he decides to just wipe out all of his rivals in like the span of 2 days.
Yep.
The county outside of Los Santos just becomes his stomping grounds overnight, basically.
Yeah. Yep. Takes over the meth dealing, takes over the gun dealing, and he tries to pitch a guy named Tao Chang on using him as a supplier. He's like, you know, I've made a lot of headway. Your old suppliers are gone because I killed them. You should use me. And during this, another kind of rival gang called the Aztecs attack, and Trevor fights off all of them. He then finds out that Chang decides to go with the O'Neill brothers, who are another kind of faction that's out in the desert. And Trevor goes and kills them too. So really this sets your kind of theme of what Trevor is he's angry and just kills his problems. And he's good at it. It does work for him, even though it's not good. But after Trevor does this, finally Wade, who's one of his kind of new crew, essentially. So since Trevor's been living in the desert, he's developed a desert crew of sorts who are kind of like his replacement crew. They had to deal with. So there's a guy named Wade. There's another guy named Ron. I really like when Trevor yells at Ron. I think that's pretty funny. Just like Ron, and Ron's just like,
It's always hilarious when he yells at people.
That's so good. But Wade returns though from Los Santos because he found out where Michael lives. So Trevor and Wade go into Los Santos, and they live with Wade's cousin Floyd, who did not want them to move in, but Trevor said, well, this is family, you should let us stay here, basically. And so Floyd is like, okay. So this gets us back to Los Santos.
But yeah, back in Los Santos, we sort of like catch up with Michael a bit, and Trevor tracks him down. I can't remember exactly where it happens. I think it's like at Michael's house. Like Trevor just shows up at his house and just sort of confronts him about, you know, you asshole, I thought you were dead. How could you abandon me? And all this other stuff. And, you know, just kind of turns out that Michael comes clean to him about, hey, I just worked out a deal with the FBI. They let me just kind of go under the radar, and they helped me fake my death. But you know, we can cut this is really quick. We can cut this out later. Should I mention Brad yet? I don't know if we're gonna get into.
Yeah, go for it.
And you know, another detail about Michael faking his death is that it kind of, he sort of covered up Brad's whole thing too, because it turns out that Brad, you know, a friend of Michael and Trevor's who was robbing, you know, a criminal associate of theirs, he died during that botched robbery at the beginning of the game, but Trevor didn't know that. So Trevor has been laboring under the illusion that Michael was dead and Brad was in prison, when in reality Brad is dead and Michael was just living under an assumed identity. So yeah, Michael has this confrontation with Trevor and comes clean to him, but he doesn't tell him, hey, Brad's actually dead. Like, he kind of lets that lie stay there. So Trevor still doesn't know that their old friend Brad is dead. He still thinks he's in prison.
Yep.
So there's this whole tangled web of lies between Trevor and Michael, as well as, you know, just personality clashes and a lot of drama from so many directions.
Yep.
That really strains their relationship. Like, they obviously have a friendship that goes back a long ways, but there are a lot of factors that complicate the relationship between them, for sure. And yeah, and we also find out that, you know, Michael's robbery of the jewelry store, you know, even if, you know, like you and I did, Dan, even if you do it the smart way and don't draw too much heat to yourself, Michael is still on the radar in a bad way. So the FBI comes and sees him. His handler, sort of, Dave Norton, shows up and says, Michael, buddy, we told you, stop doing crimes. You did crime. And now you are, you know, complicating my life. You're fucking my day up a little bit. And so, yeah, basically Michael owes the FBI a favor now because of the robbery that is giving them headaches. So he has a new job. He has to basically confirm an FBI subject, or sorry, he has to confirm an FBI suspect is dead in a morgue. And that's a little side job he has to go off and do briefly. So he's now kind of on the hook with the FBI. That starts this whole phase of his life that he's not happy about.
Yes, and being on the hook with the FBI, it really becomes a thing that just keeps going, right? They're like, well, okay, you're almost off the hook, but
yeah.
You know, that's really the relationship that ends up developing from here, and really plays a huge role in the game hereafter, basically. So Michael does that errand, like Connor was saying, but then after this, Dave's boss, Steve Haynes, shows up and he's like, hey, that wasn't enough. You know, we still have a lot of heat our way. We need another favor. And so there's this guy who's in CIA custody, and they're like, hey, we think this guy has some dirt on the FBI, so we need to break into the CIA and take him for us.
Wow. Break into the CIA. It's such a tiny favor, sure.
Yeah, you totally find out that there's, you know, all sorts of insanity, that the FBI will all do all sorts of bad things to get what they need. As the game goes on, you find out, like, little things like, oh, you know, we need you to do this crime for us so the FBI keeps its funding, or so the CIA doesn't get our funding, or, you know, blah, 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 blah. Like, just a whole bunch of bullshit that Michael and company have found themselves in now. Right. So Michael, Franklin, and Trevor team up for the first time and retrieve this guy who's in CIA custody. And you end up getting kind of a dual mission at the same time going on, where you've got Trevor torturing this guy for information.
Yeah.
Which is brutal. I hated doing this.
He's the guy for the job, though. If anyone needs to inflict pain on someone else, Trevor's the guy to do it. And he's a scary bastard.
Oh, he's totally scary.
Yeah.
I feel like I probably played this different than a lot of GTA players, but I was like, I want to do the least bad thing because I don't want to see all of this. I didn't do this, but I read you can, like, pull his teeth out.
Yeah, there's like jumper cables on the nipples, things like that. It gets dark.
Yeah, it gets dark, and so I, like, tried to play it light, but I know you could go full in, but I was like, I don't want to do this. It's intense.
It is really interesting how like it works out in the game though. Like you play as Trevor doing the torture, almost like quick time events, but then it flashes over to Michael and Franklin like at the place. They have to like use information that Trevor's getting to pinpoint the target at like a party at a house and like make sure they shoot the right guy through a sniper rifle. It's like such a spy drama sort of situation that was really interesting.
It was really cool, like gameplay wise. It's like, he's fat, or whatever. Like the guy getting tortured is like giving details, and you're like, okay, it's not this guy over here. And then it finally culminates in you getting the information you need. Michael shoots the guy. Cool, we're good.
Job done.
We've done our FBI's stuff. I think our crew is maybe feeling a little good. So with this newfound freedom, Trevor is looking for the next score, as Trevor does. So he makes Cousin Floyd take him to the port to scout out something to steal. Cousin Floyd works at the shipyard, and so Trevor's like, cool, I'm going to use this to, find something to boost. And while they're down there, he discovers a Merryweather ship that's there that has a lot of military resources. So Merryweather is this kind of contract soldiers that the U.S. government uses that are just recently allowed on U.S. soil. Before they only did outside of the U.S. stuff, but the U.S. has just recently let them here. So Trevor notices, oh, this is one of their ships. They've probably got some good shit. We should steal it because we could probably make a lot of money on it. And so Trevor pitches the guys and is like, I've got this heist. We should do this. We could steal from Merryweather. We know this is going to be big. Also, like, come on, they can't really come after us. They're, sort of newly allowed doing things. Like, Trevor has not thought this through very well.
He usually doesn't. And it's like...
No, this is where you learn, don't listen to Trevor.
Don't let him make the plans. And it's funny, Merryweather is, like, represented as this mercenary group. They're like, soldiers for hire, and it's kind of presented as like, who's gonna feel sorry for these guys if we rob them? Like, it's that classic, thieves stealing from other thieves, or thieves stealing from master criminals. It's like that honorable thief sort of thing. Hey, we're not like robbing anyone who doesn't deserve it, so it's fine.
Exactly. So they do team up and they do this. So Trevor gets Michael and Franklin in on this, and they do steal from this Merryweather ship. They do kind of an elaborate plan with like having like a scuba thing and throwing something in the water, and then Trevor steals it from other water and all of that. But whatever they manage to steal, it is not something they should have. So much so that, you could end up on, like, most wanted list, list around the world for people to kill you.
Yeah.
Not good.
There's hot merchandise, and then there's this. Like, this isn't, like, just taking a VCR from Best Buy. Like, this is big shit that you should not be caught with.
Right. Yeah. It's like being like, who's looking for a nuclear bomb, or whatever. It's like, you can't be that guy. And Lester very much so sees this, and he's like, you guys can't fucking take this, you idiots. I'm going to have this, accidentally come back so that we don't get in trouble. I'll work something out. You guys are idiots. Don't do this again.
Yeah, Lester has to come in with that reality check of like, you dumb motherfuckers. Like, I can't find a buyer for this. Like, you can only steal stuff if you're able to offload it and make money off of it. Like, I can't sell this to anyone. I can't fence this. What the hell's wrong with you? Yeah, I love that part. That was so funny.
Yeah, that was great. It felt like Dad came home. Like, you idiots.
Dad came home,
Super funny. So, from here, you go back into kind of, essential side stories of stuff for a little while. So, some kind of things that happen along the way is, one, Michael ends up fighting his wife's yoga instructor. He was also hitting on Michael's wife, so Michael beats him up. And his wife moves out. His son ends up, Jimmy, being a real piece of shit. He's like, Dad, we should get burgers. And then when they get burgers, he drugs Michael and then just like pushes him out of the car and leaves him.
Dude. Jimmy sucks.
He sucks. This might have made me more mad than almost anything in the game. I was like, that is such a mean thing to do. Like, Dad, I'm going to drug you and ditch you. What a dick move.
What an
asshole. Other things that kind of happen along the way. Michael gets a side job at a movie studio for a guy named Solomon Richards, who was like a director or movie producer who made a bunch of like 80s movies that Michael liked. So this is sort of a dream come true for Michael. He's working for like a hero of his. Franklin assassinates people for Lester. You manipulate the stock market again. Like, this is the first time where you get to partake. So Lester, when he had Michael do that earlier, that was just for Lester. Now Lester will give you the tips as Franklin, and you can, do stuff with stocks to do that as you assassinate people.
Yeah, that's Franklin really moving up in the world too, though. I mean, he's a contract killer now. Like he's making good money just knocking off high value targets, and then he can play the stock market and cheat and win. And I think around this time, Franklin does move out of his his aunt's house, like his grandma's house. I can't remember. Like he gets a place of his own, a really nice pad in Vinewood Hills, and he's living his best life. It's going well.
His new house is sweet.
So
I feel like if he it's super nice. I feel like if he could have just opted out here, Franklin could have had like a good life from here if he wanted. Like, all right, cool, I'm done doing shit. Like, I got this house, I have some money, I could probably just move on. Whereas Michael and Trevor seem more committed to the life. I feel like this would have been a good spot for Franklin to say, I'm gonna be straight. I'm gonna just get into regular business.
I'm done. I've got mine.
But he doesn't. He sticks around. Another thing that happens is Franklin, this is pretty funny. Franklin and Lamar have a drug deal they're about to do, but Trevor shows up and he's like, I want to hang with the boys. And they're like, we have a drug deal we need to do. And Trevor's like, perfect, I'm coming.
I love that part.
It's so funny. And so they go to do the drug deal, and they find out that the dealers were trying to rip them off because the brick of Coke was mostly baking soda or something. And Trevor's like, well, you gotta taste it to know, you idiots.
Test the merchandise,
Yeah, test the merchandise. And so Trevor catches them, and then they just have to annihilate a bunch of gang members, which it felt like one of those things like, oh, okay, this is what happens when you hang out with Trevor. Like, the thing you meant to do got way crazier.
Yeah.
So funny.
It's kind of like Trevor taking on that big brother role of like, hey, you're doing crime, let me show you how it's done. I know all about crime. And of course, when Trevor's involved, things blow up and turn into shootouts, and a lot of people die, and that's exactly what happens. Yeah.
Yep. Your last kind of side story thing that is relevant that happens here is Michael, Franklin, and Trevor end up stealing some luxury cars for Devin Weston. So Devin Weston is this billionaire, and he wants these luxury cars around Los Santos stolen because he can flip them in the Chinese market or something for way more than they're worth, and they're already really expensive cars or something like that. So we get involved with him and do that. He also has a personal assistant, but she's far more than that really, but she sets up your crime, so she's sort of your go-between that you'll deal with through the game for setting up Devin Weston related crimes. So, okay, our side stories wrap up, and now we've got kind of our next big move that comes up, which is called the Blitz play. This is something that Michael brings up because the FBI needs another favor.
Of course they do.
Of course they do, right. Which is, we need you to rob this armored truck because we need money for our next kind of activity we're doing, so we need you guys to get that for us.
The taxpayers aren't giving us enough. We need to literally steal some money directly from people. Oh man, it's so messed up. But yeah, the idea is to break into and steal from this armored car. They decide to kind of do this classic maneuver of running into it with a garbage truck and kind of like using a garbage truck and a tow truck to block off and then literally physically knock over the armored car so they can break into it and steal the money inside. And I especially love this heist because I especially love this heist because it's kind of a callback or an homage to one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a classic crime thriller from the 90s called Heat by Michael Mann, the director Michael Mann, starring Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. And that movie opens with pretty much the exact same robbery happening, where they block the route of an armored car and then run into it with a heavy truck and knock it over, and they rob it. And it's this blitz play, and GTA 5 kind of goes the exact same way. So it's kind of like, if you like that movie, if you like Heat, you can basically play through that heist. And I really loved that part. That was like a nice little treat for me.
It was super cool. I agree. I really like that. And it was cool just seeing, again, their elaborate plan. They also have like a huge shootout with the police where you end up killing, I don't know, 30 police or something like that. It's a lot. Yeah, you're taking the cops out on this one, but then you make it out. And again, I feel like it really builds your confidence, I think, as like a robbery crew. You're like, okay, we're pretty good at this.
Yeah,
like,
we're getting this down to a science, yeah.
Right, yeah, the jewelry store felt good, but then this, you're like, okay, they got guns, it's fine, we're good, we can handle them, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, you definitely feel pretty powerful at that point. Of course, favors keep coming in, and Martin Madrazo says that he needs Michael to do a favor for him now, and says, one of my cousins is on this plane, we're worried he might snitch, shoot the plane down, get his briefcase, because we need to make sure he doesn't snitch. So Michael agrees, and he shoots down a plane. He shoots the propellers so it crashes, and then Trevor, meanwhile, is on retrieving duty. So he's supposed to go to the crash and then scoop the briefcase. And Trevor goes out and he does that, but when he goes to Madrazo's house to kind of give him the briefcase back, he has an argument with him and attacks Madrazo. I think he cuts off one of his ears and he steals his wife. So Trevor move again.
Yeah, he goes full Trevor on him and does what he does. So yeah, he then, I think for the rest of the game, Trevor just has this old lady living in his trailer or in his home because he just kidnapped her, and she's just there for the next few chapters of the story. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Total Trevor move, which of course sends the crew out of Los Santos, right? We can't be here. Madrazo's going to hunt us down. So we've got to go back to the desert. And so Trevor, of course, can't lay low. So he's like, all right, well, I'm in the desert. Let's keep fucking with Merryweather. I need something to do. So he tries to steal from them on a plane. I think that ultimately doesn't work. So then he says, Michael, the plane thing didn't work. You and me have to steal from this train instead. Again, this could make us a lot of money. We're stuck in the desert. We might as well make money while we're out here. And I think that reasoning works pretty well with Michael. We might as well make money. Yeah. He's like, all right, cool. I guess you're right. So you steal from a train, fight Merryweather guys, all of that. But the FBI has also come back again. We need another favor.
Guess again, they need more money.
Yeah, we need more money. So how about this? Let's rob this bank that's out here, and you guys can use that money to help fund our operation.
Yeah, why not?
This bank robbery is pretty cool. So it's like a small town bank, but Trevor says that the cops are crooked, and so there's more money in there than should be.
That's right,
kind of thing. And he, you kind of do some scouting. So one thing you do is you set off the alarm at the bank to see how long it takes for people to get there, to judge how long it will be before the heat shows up. And so the crew wears heavy armor. They get machine gun, heavy machine guns. It's pretty intense, and you just end up fighting a bunch of crooked cops in this one. This was a pretty fun.
Yeah, this was memorable. It was a big, loud, messy shootout. They went all out. The armor you can barely move in that is completely bulletproof, and just the big ass machine guns. I remember this heist just kind of descending it kind of devolving into you're literally just waddling down the street, just gunning down every cop you see and just mowing them down and just like barely escaping. It was crazy. It was a wild time.
It was, yeah. It is funny that you're just like scooching down the street, like because you're, you're like the Michelin Man or something, as a robber or something. Basically. Like you're just all fucking poofy, but you just have machine guns. Oh yeah, that's funny. Your last kind of big thing that happens in the desert is the FBI has you break into a research facility to steal nerve gas. So something that, I don't know, Homeland Security wants more money, and I guess Homeland Security's plan is we'll release the nerve gas on some people to show you that, it's not safe. We need more money for security.
It's so messed up.
But the FBI... yeah, it's so fucked. So the FBI, being altruistic, not really, but being altruistic, says, oh, well, what if we steal it? Then, they'll get what they want, but they won't hurt people, and then also we'll get something because of doing this heist. Two, they have some benefit to make as well. And so they scuba dive into the facility, which is pretty cool. And this is one, actually, where Dave and... Steve Haynes go on the mission with you. So those two and Michael like go in as scuba divers, but then Franklin and Trevor are doing other stuff.
Yeah, I really liked this mission. It was so memorable. Like, yeah, you're just kind of swimming in through the ocean and kind of infiltrating the facility from underwater. You like cut your way into like a drain pipe, and then you're inside and kind of like stalking through the hallways with like tasers and silence guns and like, trying to non-lethally get through security. And I love this mission. It was like, again, kind of like that spy thriller, very intricate sort of set piece mission that I really stuck with me. I like that one a lot.
Me too. Yeah, it did feel very spy thriller in that, like, in the beginning, I think you just have like, you can either knock people out or maybe you have like stun darts or something like that. So there's a while where you're not trying to kill anyone. Yeah, that was cool. After you complete this mission, you patch things up with Madrazo. You give his wife back.
Give him his wife back. Yeah.
Give him his wife back. Give him some money. And this kind of lets you go back to Los Santos. Yeah. But early on after this, Trevor wants to go back to Ludendorff, which is where your botched robbery was 10 years ago. And he wants to kind of discover the truth. He's like...
yeah.
What the fuck? He's kind of catching on to the truth about Brad that you mentioned earlier. And Michael's like, no, don't go. Like, the past is the past. Which, of course, makes Trevor want to do it more. All in all, he learns that Brad was actually killed in that robbery. And he's been buried in Michael's place. So that's how Michael's sort of been able to fake his death, is that Brad has been in his grave. And so people thought that was Michael, and that's allowed Michael to be Michael DeSanta instead. And while they're out at the graveyard for this, because Trevor's going to dig, or does, I think he does. He digs up Michael's grave and figures out it's Brad. But then they get attacked by the triads, who I think work for Chang, who had some dealings with Trevor before. And during... the shootout, Trevor just fucks off, and so Michael's just there by himself for the shootout, and he gets captured by this gang.
Luckily, Franklin arrives and saves Michael before the triads can kill him. So Michael comes out of it intact, but his friendship with Trevor, it was already strained to begin with, but now it's like really kind of in the balance. And this was actually an interesting moment of the game where you kind of get more emotion out of Trevor than you expected. Like, Trevor's the kind of guy you don't really expect him to value life or value friendship in any way. You don't anticipate him having feelings like that, but you see some vulnerability from him. Like, you see him kind of feel betrayed by Michael and hurt by him. Like, I thought you were the only one I could count on. Like, you're the only person I kind of respect, and you do this to me. And it's an emotional moment. Like it's a downbeat where you kind of have Michael and Trevor splitting a bit, kind of going separate ways, and it's a bummer.
No, yeah, it is. You like feel pretty bad for Trevor,
Yeah.
which is strange to feel of like that Trevor's like, you betrayed me, you like abandoned me, you've lied to me, like almost like, I know I'm a lot, but we're supposed to be boys and you do this to me sort of thing. So Trevor's kind of fucks off and is like, I'll just go back to the desert, like I'm done with you, sort of thing, and was fine letting Michael potentially die. Like Trevor wouldn't kill Michael himself, but he was pissed enough that he was like, if this gang kills you, I don't care because you deserve it. Kind of, yeah, essentially. So this sort of has your fractured group at this point, where you've got Trevor off doing his own thing, doing desert stuff. Meanwhile, Michael is not quite done with the game. So him and Franklin and Lester are still kind of doing things, and still being coerced by the FBI. And so the FBI comes to them and they're like, hey, we have another favor, of course. We need you again. Which this time it's, hey, in our agency, the Bureau has evidence of Steve Haynes' corruption. So we need you to go break in to the Bureau and erase those files for us. And at this point, Michael is like, okay, these favors are never going to end. Like, we have to get out of the FBI's quote unquote good graces, because like they're not gonna we're never gonna be out of them, kind of thing. So Michael agrees, but his plan is to break into the Bureau. He'll erase the Steve Haynes files, but he's gonna erase his own as well, because then no one has leverage and this can actually be the last thing.
Clean slate. Yeah. And I was wrong. They actually don't need money this time. They just need you to do their dirty work and cover up their evidence for them. But yeah, I mean, this is cool how Michael's sort of turning the tables. Like, hey, I'll do this one last thing for you, but I'm literally cutting ties with you. Like, you'll have nothing on me after I'm done with this. That's pretty clever. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is good. It shows his like kind of sneakiness or recognition of, okay, this isn't going to end. Like, they're never. It's whatever I do will never be enough. There's going to be another thing. So I need to just remove everything. And so the Bureau raid, this is kind of your next big heist moment where you're presented with options. Lester comes with ideas of how to do this. So how did you approach this raid?
Okay, so one of the options was kind of just going in armed and loud and strong, and I believe that involved landing on putting Michael on the roof so that he could rappel down the side of the building, crash in through the window, and take the hostage. And or am I thinking of something else? Is that the right job? Am I thinking of the right thing?
He goes in through the roof, but I think they sneak into the building from the roof. I think you do steal a guy out the window, like you're talking about. Though.
I might be thinking of something else
at a different point.
Never mind. So I don't really recall then. I'm thinking of a different job where Michael rappels in and then breaks in through the window, and Franklin's on like another rooftop nearby, covering him with a sniper rifle. Like, I don't know
that's the FBI informant when you steal him earlier.
My bad. So I'm sorry.
That's
I
right.
actually don't remember what I did for the video.
No, you're good. No, you're good. Actually, I wish I would have said those details earlier, because that was cool as hell.
No, yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
In that moment was cool as hell, because you break in through the glass, grab the dude.
That was so cool.
That was cool as hell. So for this one, to break in, you need to break into the Bureau, and so Lester gives you two options. One is a covert one, which is you steal a fire truck and then you like set off a fire alarm, and then you pretend to be the firefighters going in there, and while you're in there you steal the files, or destroy the files when you're in there. The other option is you do use a helicopter like you're talking about, and I think what it is you use a helicopter and kind of come in through the roof, so people are in the building and you just steal the files while shit's going down. So I imagine there's a lot of shooting.
Yeah, that might have been. I think I did that one. That sounds like something I would do.
Okay. No, yeah, I think that would make sense for sure. That one I think is more aggressive, but this one seems like one where if people went aggressive, it would make a lot of sense to me too. I went covert. I stole the fire truck just because I thought it would be a good way to maybe get off clean. That, maybe we'd do this and we'd be truly done with them. Like, they wouldn't have me on a camera. They wouldn't have, whatever. So I went that way for that reason. But I thought it was not a bad move. Nikki on Twitter, though, she said parachute onto the roof. Love the dialogue with the helicopter. So I guess there was good stuff going in that route. So that's cool. Yeah, totally. So from here, Michael goes to meet up with Dave. So after destroying the files, that stuff, Michael's kind of having this last meeting with Dave to say, okay, fuck it, we're done. Like, I deleted your files. I also deleted mine. We're never talking again. That's sort of Michael's plan. And he gets there, and he finds out that they were set up by Steve Haynes. That Steve was going to kind of frame, or I guess not frame, but put all the blame on those two, so that they would kind of take the fall for everything, plant evidence that way. But then shit gets wild because rival FBI agents come, rival CIA agents come, Merriweather shows up. Literally, you just have like a bunch of people with guns, like total shit show.
4-way gun battle. It's fucking crazy. Everyone shows up. Yeah, it's chaotic. I think, if I'm remembering the right mission again, like I think in this, I remember playing like where I was running from, there's a helicopter shows up and like guys are shooting at you from the chopper, and like you're playing as Michael, and I was getting away from I think I was like trying to escape on a motorcycle, and I was like just speeding through downtown Los Santos with this like little chopper flying over top and shooting down at me, and I like get a little bit of distance on it. I skid to a stop, jump off the bike, and I have like a 50 cal sniper with me, and I just like Michael has like his special ability where you can slow down time and like take precision shots slowly, and so I sniped the pilot right after like running from him on his motorcycle and like just shooting down the chopper. It was so cool. And that's like, those are the moments that, like we talked about way back in the beginning, like when the game is good, it's really good, and there's like those high moments or those high points, those amazing moments that stick with you. That's one of them. So yeah, that's such a batshit off the chain mission where all kinds of stuff like that happens.
It totally is. Total insanity. That's an amazing story for that too. That's really cool. Totally bad shit. In it, Trevor shows up and kind of saves the day. There's a point where you're pinned, and then Trevor shows up with like a sniper rifle and takes out a bunch of dudes near you, and it kind of shows, okay, he's got your back. He's not gonna abandon you.
He's your boy.
Which is cool on his end because you kind of deserve it. I would say so. But Trevor saves the day. This is good. From here, you go on a couple more side stories. One is Franklin, Michael, and Trevor save Lamar, who gets set up by Stretch on some sort of deal. I think with the O'Neills, and so you kill through them. And then also Michael does a couple things for Solomon Richards that involve Michael ends up getting added as a producer on this film. One big thing that happens is Devin Wesson's assistant has the only copy of this movie and is running away, and Michael tries to chase her down to get it back, and while she's running away, she runs to an airport and then gets sucked up into the airplane propeller and just
that
turns
was
the
so
goop.
Messed up. I did not see that coming at all.
No, me either. And so then Michael just kind of like scoops the DVD and was
well,
like,
I got it.
I got it. Devin Weston, though, is pissed. Like, my assistant died because of you, even though Michael's like, I didn't kill her. Like,
yeah, the engine killed her. Like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah. There's a point where there's like a premiere for the movie that's going to happen. And while Michael's there, Devin Weston says that his family's set up at his house, and so Michael has to leave the premiere to save his family from getting executed at his house. So, like, you know, big deal going on there. Big time rival for sure. But this leads us to kind of our last big heist, which is the Big Score. The Big Score is the Union Depository. They have, gold, tons and tons and tons of money, and has really been almost like the dream for Michael, for Trevor, for Lester, of like, if we could rob this, we would be like the robbers that everyone talks about. It would be...
That's their white whale, holy grail. Like, that's
glory.
I'm running out of metaphors, but yeah, that's the big one. Like, they would be legends of the criminal if they pull this off, for sure.
Yeah, total legends. And so they kind of all come to, let's get this out. Our crew's better than it's ever been. Like, this could actually be the last one. If we did this, we could actually all be done with crime for real, because we'd be paid so well.
We'd be set for life. Like, would just be, never have to lift a finger again.
Right. Yeah, it would be such a haul. So, as with our heist, we're given two options of how to go. One is a subtle option, which is to essentially like rob the Brinks trucks and then pretend to be those guys, and then make a big withdrawal, because Lester will like send in paperwork for this giant withdrawal. So you can essentially steal everything without firing a shot. And then by the time they realize the gold's gone, you'll ditch the Brinks trucks, you'll get into muscle cars, you'll kind of speed off separately, and then I think ultimately hide those inside of semis, like drive into semis that are on the road, and so you'll just be like hidden, essentially, is your like long game there. So that's your one option. That's a subtle option. The other option is the obvious one, which is you'd still steal like a big driller and just actually drill into the vault from outside. And then just steal everything from the vault. And then I think it does follow a similar idea of you'll get it to muscle cars and then, go off from there. So how did you approach this robbery?
I remember doing the subtle option. I remember the kind of stealing the. I remember kind of acquiring the uniforms of the armored car drivers and going in like. I remember like having to be at the wheel of one of these armored trucks and like kind of go in and follow protocol and act like you belong there and go in and like escort the gold out and into the truck, and that's just seemed like the smart way to do it. And then you have like this kind of like straight out of Fast and Furious or the Italian Job sort of situation where it's like put the loot in the trunks of these souped up muscle cars and get out of town. And there's also that point where you have to like hack into the Los Santos traffic camera system or traffic light system and basically lead the cops away from you. And that was like a weird mini game where you had to just hack the lights. That was really cool. So that whole thing was such an intricate heist with so many moving parts. Like, that was really interesting to me.
Yeah. Oh, totally agree. That was a blast. That mini game was cool. It was like you'd see the police coming, and so you'd give them red lights and then give you green lights or whatever, like you said. Right. Yeah, that was funny. Of like okay, how do you maneuver around this to get back to the hideout? But it was cool because it just showed it as a square with streets, right, and you're like fucking with the lights to do it. That was cool.
Loved it.
Yeah, me too. Loved it. I did the same thing as you. I thought subtle approach was the way to go. I feel like if you're going to make like the biggest robbery ever, I feel like being able to do it sneakily like this, like that, it seems cooler to me. Not that drilling couldn't be cool, but this just felt like such a like, we outsmarted them. We got it all. Once they realized it, we were already on our way out. Like,
that's what a master thief does.
That felt super cool.
That's not a thug move. That's a master thief move, and I love it. I live for that stuff.
Me too. Totally. Nikki on Twitter is the same as us. She says, the one with the muscle cars. So all in as we were. And so we've pulled off our big heist. We've done it. We're ready to get out of the game. But meanwhile, I guess our bullshit has sort of caught up to us. as time has gone. So earlier in the game, Franklin gets approached by Steve Haynes and Dave and says, hey, we can actually be done with FBI stuff. We won't ask for any more favors after this, for real. We can forget all of it, but we need you to kill Trevor. Trevor's too unhinged. He's unreliable. Like, he's simply a loose end that can't exist. So Franklin, if you kill off Trevor, we'll be done.
Yeah.
You'll never hear from anything. You can live your life. Franklin also gets approached by Devin Weston, the billionaire, and says, if you kill Michael, I'll make everything go away. The FBI will go away. It will all be done. You just do this one thing. You can live your life. You're clearly good at what you're doing. You don't need Michael. You don't need any of this. Just do this for me and it will be over, kind of thing. And in your conversation with Devin Weston, he says, I know about the FBI's offer to kill Trevor. If you take mine, you don't have to do theirs. I'll make that go away, sort of thing. So, you got to choose one of these two. What kind of guy are you going to be, Franklin? And so this leads us to our final choice for the game, which is, what ending do we choose?
Yeah, that's the big question.
What did you do, Connor?
Honestly, third way, all the way, feels like the only real option. It's I remember distinctly. I have this vivid memory of you're playing as Franklin. You've been told, here's how it is. This is the reality of the situation. You gotta kill either one of your friends, companions who have been your partners in crime for so long now. And I'm sitting there thinking, that sucks, man. I can't do this. I guess if I have to kill one of them, I'd rather kill Trevor, but I still don't want to do that because, Michael and Franklin are definitely tight at this point. I feel like that would make sense.
I agree.
But as soon as it was made clear to me that there was a third option where you could get the three amigos back together, get the gang back together, and they all just kill every one of the bad guys that are, hassling them. As soon as it was made clear to me, that's an option, I was like, well, then that's, what kind of question is that? Of course I'm doing that. It was well, duh. So yeah, the option C where Franklin just says, fuck this. I'm, taking, door number 3, I'm going to ignore the binary. I'm going to just find my own way. He gets Michael and Trevor to team up with him, and the three of them just kill everyone who is trying to run their lives. It's great.
Yeah, it's super cool. I did the same thing as you. I went with option 3, the third way. I think when I saw this, I was like, I would rather have us all get killed, me trying to stay with my boys, than to kill either one of them. So I was kind of I might do this and we might all get killed, but I'm cool with it. If that's the route this goes, I would rather choose Franklin going down with those two guys rather than betraying one of them. So that was my attitude as well.
Making a life for yourself because you were willing to backstab your friends is no life at all. It's better if we all go down together than me betray my friends. That felt right.
Yeah, totally, and felt very Franklin as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Franklin's super loyal,
yes.
So for him to be able to choose a third way was great.
I agree.
AFC on Twitter wrote in option C, bring it on. I'm not betraying my pals. So same as us.
Yeah, Harley on Twitter also said, I picked C. Ain't that a bitch? Sure is.
Yep. And then lastly, Nikki on Twitter said option C, obviously.
Obviously.
So, yeah. I wonder if everyone really is in the same boat as us.
Yeah,
if,
it's almost
I
want to meet the people who decide I'm going to kill Trevor or I'm going to kill Michael. What's wrong with you? What made you go that way? No, I don't mean no. I'm joking about what's wrong with you. It's just I'd be curious. What's the thought process?
I am surprised.
Yeah, that would be surprising.
Yeah, it would. I feel like it has to be very, very heavily skewed third way, for sure. Yeah. I would think the other two are less common. But, so our options, how they can go. If you decide to kill Trevor, Michael shittily agrees to help Franklin. You go to Michael and you're like, hey man, FBI said we got to do this. If we do this, then, we're actually off the hook for real. And Michael says, okay, we can do this. And Michael will actually help you team up to kill Trevor off. That sucks. Pretty rough. On the other end, if you do the kill Michael route, Franklin will go to Trevor, and Trevor will say, no, I'm not going to help you with that. Yeah. You don't kill friends, basically. So Franklin on his own has to kill Michael. He does. And then later he talks to Trevor, and Trevor basically expresses, I'm disappointed in you. You shouldn't kill your friends. Mm-hmm. That's wrong. Like, Michael did more for you than anyone. Yeah. Like, you shouldn't have done that.
Ending. That's the bummer ending.
Yeah, that's a huge bummer. I feel like those endings do highlight a thing that is unfortunate is Trevor would never betray Michael, but Michael will betray Trevor, which kind of sucks. Yeah. That they have that in them. Fortunately, neither of those are canon for us, which is the third way. So Franklin brings up his problem. He goes to Lester and says, I'm getting told I need to kill Michael or this, or I need to kill Trevor or that. And Lester for a second talks you through, well, I would kill Trevor first and then I'd kill Michael if I had to do it, how to think through it. But then they're both like, no, this isn't sitting right. And they're like, all right, what if we did this? And, the third way evolves from there, like you said. So Michael, Trevor, and Lester and Lamar team up to kill all of their enemies. This feels like the ultimate end to a gangster movie. It's so fucking cool.
It's so cathartic and satisfying, and it's awesome. Yeah, they kill the FBI assholes, Haynes and or they kill Steve. They kill Devin Weston, the billionaire. They kill Stretch, Franklin's old gang leader. They kill Wei Chang, the guy who sicked the triads on Trevor. Like, everyone who gave them shit throughout the entire game, the three amigos just take it to him. Oh yeah, and Lamar helps too. Like, he shows up and lends a hand. It's like the suit. This was like the Avengers assembling. This was like, the portals opening up so everyone can fight Thanos together. It was like that was the moment. That was the big climax of the game. It was so cool.
Oh yeah, it's super cool, and it's like and this one I feel like especially hit well for playing the different characters. So it's like, okay, I'll go kill your enemy, you'll go kill mine, all of that. And so you hop over and it's like, okay, blow this car up, boom, awesome. That guy's gone. Okay, we caught this dude playing basketball, we'll shoot him down. All of that. It's sweet. We go to Devin Weston's house and kidnap him and then pour a car with him into the lake and have him drown. Like, it's sweet. It's super cool. And that ends our game. From there, you can keep playing side stories and such as all of your characters. And enjoy wrecking Los Santos as much as you like. One thing to note is if you do kill off Trevor or Michael, they are gone in the game from this point. So don't kill them unless you actually don't want them to be able to play as them at all, because their shit goes away. So you were warned. So that is GTA 5 in itself. From here, we want to move into a couple general thoughts stuff that stood out to us that maybe didn't really fit in our recap. So one thing that we didn't talk about, but I appreciate quite a lot, is that you can skip missions if you fail 3 times, which I think is a Rockstar thing, because I know in Red Dead Redemption you could do that as well. Is if you failed a mission too many times, it would ask you, do you want to retry or do you want to skip? Which I appreciated with... I think in a few different ways, but one being is if a mission was hard, I did like being able to skip it, but I had a time or two when the game was glitchy, and so I could just fail the mission to have it advance, which was nice, that, the glitch didn't keep me stuck in the game or whatever. Or if it was stuff I didn't like. There were a couple missions that I just, I would try all the missions seriously once or twice, but if it was a mission I didn't like, or I was like, oh, I know I don't like doing this, I would just die on purpose to skip ahead. So I like that this allows you to kind of skip around things if you want or need to. And I was thinking that this is probably a better feature than a difficulty setting. Difficulty settings are good, and, I'm all for that. I play games on easy or medium or whatever. I'm fine with whatever. But being able to skip a specific moment where you're stuck is nice, because I know I have games I played over the years where I just get to a spot and I'm like, I know what I need to do. I just can't beat it. I'm not good enough. And to be able to have an option to skip and, not get trophies or something, that's totally fine. Don't care, but I'd like to be able to keep going. So I really appreciate that about this game.
That is a cool feature. I actually forgot that was a part of the game. Maybe because I'm so awesome and elite that I never failed a mission enough times for that to be an issue. But no, I'm kidding. No, I do like that. There is a conversation happening. It's kind of getting it comes and goes, but I think it's prominent right now. Of there shouldn't be a game without an easy setting. Like if you make a game, you should make some effort to allow the maximum number of people possible to experience it. So like don't gatekeep the content. Like if someone's having trouble with a mission, let them just skip it and experience the rest of the story. It's a nice feature to involve for sure. I like that. For my general thoughts, just to wrap up here is just you asked me earlier where this ranks in my kind of overall take on the franchise, and it's kind of middling for me, just maybe because I just spent so much time with the older games in my childhood and adolescence. But, thinking about how far the series has come, I think GTA 5 is such a strong entry into the series. Like you can't contend how much it did for the franchise and like moving the technology forward and telling new stories. And it's obvious how popular it still is. It's still so relevant today. People are still playing it, even though it came out in 2013. And it just has so many highlights. Like, I come back to the way Rockstar made Los Santos feel like a real place. Like, it's a living, breathing environment that, players can interact with and experience. And it's that's just a continuation of the amazing work that they did with GTA 4. Like, Liberty City in GTA 4 it felt like a real place. Like you really were in a parallel in New York, getting by and doing crimes and just living day by day. And, I think Rockstar just keeps getting better and better at breathing life into these worlds and making them feel lifelike and authentic. And you saw that with Red Dead Redemption 2. Like they just kept raising the bar on giving you this other life that you can live. And I got to give GTA 5 just huge props for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I can see how there are people that, right, this game, like you said, came out in 2013 and they still play it now. Or, I truly believe this could be a game people could have hundreds of hours in and it would make sense. It's like, and I think for me, I think that this is maybe the interesting spot of an intersection, I feel, of part of me feels surprised that this game is so popular. I saw earlier this week that Rockstar said this has sold over 150 million copies all time, which is amazing. I think comparatively, I saw that that's more than, I think it was the entire Final Fantasy series has sold before, or something crazy like that, which, like, just to show the magnitude of, like, how fucking big that is. Like, that's insane. And it is a really good game. And I wonder if maybe it just, I don't play tons of open world games, and so maybe it didn't land as hard for me as it would for some, because I'm definitely someone who plays a game, then I move to the next one pretty fast. Like, I definitely jump around more, but I wonder if I was someone who stayed somewhere longer, if I would appreciate this more because I'd see more of it if I would go deeper. Like, I still put in 40 hours or something. Like, that's a lot. That's more than I put into a lot of games. But I'm sure I have nothing, though, on someone who put 150 or something. Like, they know Los Santos more than I do. But, yeah, I wasn't... So that's something that's sort of interesting. I'm surprised it's as popular. Like, if someone were to ask me, like, right now, what's an... And maybe this isn't fair comparison, but, like, what's an open world game you should play? I think I would recommend Days Gone sooner than I would GTA. But... I don't know. Maybe Days Gone fits more of a genre I like. I don't know. That sort of stuff. But... Yeah. So I think there is some of that, and that's not, a knock on GTA. I think it's good. I really like talking about it now, and I think it's a quality game. And I'm definitely eager to see what 6 will bring whenever that comes someday, because, like, the fact that this game was made in 2013 and the things that were going on playing it, like, it holds up and it's pretty nice. So I assume when 6 comes out someday, it will be good.
If/when we ever see Grand Theft Auto 6, hopefully, I'm looking forward to it. I hope we see that come together soon. I'd be excited for what they do next, because like Rockstar always just outdoes itself, like when they're building these open worlds. So we mentioned like how GTA 5 is still so relevant today. Like people are still playing it, and like that's cool, but for me personally, there's honestly kind of a flip side to that, because like I'm starting to get a little annoyed at how Rockstar has gotten away with putting GTA 5 out on 3 console generations now. That's ridiculous to me. Like, I'm glad it's doing so well, and I get that, like, you know, Red Dead Redemption 2 was a huge investment of time and resources, so like that is basically what came out instead of GTA 6. I get that. Like, I understand that, and I have no problem with that, but it's kind of like, can we not have a PS5 version of GTA 5, please? Like, it came out on PS3, you ported it to PS4, that's fine, I was okay with that, but did it really need to come out on PS5? Like, come on. It's getting a little silly. I know, I'm like, that's just my curmudgeonly side coming out. I know I'm griping, it's not a big deal, but it's just, it's wearing out on me a little bit.
No, I think that's fair though, because like, can or should a game
crazy.
last 10 years? You know, like, is this going to be the only GTA game in 2023?
Yeah.
Like, that seems possible, and should it be? Like, I don't know. Like, it seems like things should be
Just move on. I don't know.
more frequent, or not just continually investing into the one thing. Like, I guess this is a good question. So I didn't play any online stuff. Do you play online? Have you played any online
really
GTA stuff?
You know, I think I played like a few minutes of Grand Theft Auto Online back on the PS3 edition, and I think like, yeah, it just didn't grab me, or like some 12-year-old killed me a few too many times, and I was like, I got sick of it. I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm just not doing this. So yeah, I that was the thing. It was like, once I was done with GTA 5, I didn't really like, once I'd like finished the story and I did the third way, and I like had that payoff of like, okay, I got that cool ending I really liked. Once I'd had all that, I pretty much put it down and stopped playing it. I didn't really spend a lot of additional time in the open world. So yeah, I kind of skipped the online portion pretty much entirely, unfortunately.
Okay. No, that works. That's cool. That's the same as me. I don't play online games at all. I don't have any online, like, I don't pay for it or whatever. So I don't play any online games. But when I did like log in, I did see different when I'd like boot up the game, they would say like, you know, GTA Online and blah 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 and stuff. So maybe there's cool shit on there that neither of us know about. But I don't know.
Yeah, I can't.
We don't know to comment. So
yeah, and people are still playing Grand Theft Auto Online today. Like, it still has a player base. So I guess it has to be there's something to it. Like, I'm glad you guys are having fun with it. That's cool.
Yeah, totally. But I do agree though that like can it keep going console to console? Like, is GTA 5 right? Is it going to be on PS10 or whatever? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it can sort of feel that way. I have one last comment that I for my general thoughts, which is, again, I think this is probably would appeal to Dan, maybe not the GTA audience, but if there was a game where it was just heist, I would totally play that game. Like, if it was boiled down, like, you choose your crew gets better, you could have them die on your robberies, like, just do that. I would totally play a game of that. Like, if someone made like a 10-hour robbery game and you just plan heist and, you know, can do them different ways, I would be so about that. And so, like, if there's like either like a stripped down GTA that's just called like GTA Heist, or another IP that just essentially does the same thing, I would be super about it. I think that would be really cool. And one thing, I don't know if you played this game, I haven't, but I was talking to a friend about GTA before this, and I was like, you know, I like the heist. If I could do this, I would play a game of just this. And they said that they thought Payday 2 might fit that itch. Have you played Payday 2?
Oh,
do you
for sure.
agree? Do you know anything about that?
Actually, let me pull up Steam really quick and confirm my numbers. I have almost 43 hours into Payday 2, and that's just on the computer version. I think I had it on PS3 for a while too. But yeah, I've played a bit of Payday 2. It's a really fun game. Like, the thing is though, like you mentioned, you don't really play online multiplayer very much. Payday 2 is very multiplayer driven. Like, you can play on your own with bots, but it's way better with like real teammates, and it's, you know, way more interesting that way. But it is kind of like, in a way, it's you just sort of pick a job, like, hey, do I want to rob a jewelry store today, or do I want to like sneak into a dockyard and steal? It is funny how much overlap there is with GTA 5, because like, yeah, there's a job where you literally break into warehouses at the dock and steal from a mercenary company and like take their guns and shit. Yeah, it's awesome. Like,
That's awesome.
So there's like loud jobs and stealth jobs, and the way they handle all the mechanics of like avoiding security or going loud and just shooting it out with the cops. Like there's so many ways you can do it. Payday 2 is a really interesting game. It's really cool. It's not your average multiplayer shooter. Like there's a lot of thought that goes into it. So yeah, maybe you'd like it, but then again, it's, yeah, like I said, very multiplayer driven. So maybe it wouldn't be your thing, but yeah, it's cool.
Interesting. No, that's good to know. Yeah, because I like knew about Payday 2 broadly from like hearing of it as a game, but didn't know much more than that. So that sounds cool. And I mean, as evidenced by you've got 40 hours on Steam, it's good enough to go back. So that's great. That's good to see.
And
that's
awesome. I agree with you. I think the heists were probably like one of the best parts of the game, if not the main highlight of the game. And even though neither of us really touched the multiplayer much, I do think it's awesome that the heists were such a focus of multiplayer. Like you could plan these intricate crimes and these awesome strategies with your friends and then pull them off, and I thought that was really awesome. So I kind of wish I'd put more time into the online heists, checked them out more, but I think it's cool that they do that. And yeah, Payday 2 is an awesome game if that's what you're into. It's something to check out. Yeah, so I guess my final thought on GTA 5, just last thing I'll say in general, is just I just love, the atmosphere. I love the characters. You get to know some guys. You think like, oh, this is just Grand Theft Auto. It's just criminals. You're just, what's there to like? What's there to relate to? And the main characters you can really find yourself feeling for and getting accustomed to. And yeah, some interesting stories. And I just love how Los Santos obviously is based on Los Angeles. It's like it's an LA crime epic. That's at its core. That's what it is. And it really calls back to, I mentioned Heat earlier, but just the Michael Mann movies that, take place in Los Angeles and, kind of take a close look at the criminal elements in Heat, Collateral, other movies like that, where it's just, you live that life and see that world. And, just it's fun to look at and fun to think back on. And yeah, even though it's been years, it's been a long time since I played Grand Theft Auto 5. Talking about it now, it does make me excited for whatever comes next. Whenever we do see GTA 6. So.
No, yeah, totally. That's awesome. That's a great thought to wrap on. I think it does encapsulate that stuff really well, and it's a cool game for sure. Cool. That's the last of my thoughts too. So we've got a couple bits of listener feedback to wrap up on. Cito on Twitter wrote in and said they're currently playing it. They haven't gotten very far in the story part of it because they like driving around the open world and exploring. It's fun, however, I do this with all open world games where I play the story for a little bit, but then I'll just walk or drive around and explore. They own both the PS3 and PS4 versions of the game, and they're amazed that it was able to get this game running on PS3. It is wild because it doesn't, even playing now, it like feels a little old, but not that old. So I feel like to be playing this for the first time 8 years after release, it doesn't feel like ancient.
The way they ported it to PS4 and PS5 is pretty impressive. Like they really cranked up a notch on each platform. Nikki on Twitter says, quote, "It's amazing! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Great open world that feels so damn alive. Loved the character switching, and that each all had their own stories besides the connected one. The fact that it lets you skip checkpoints if you fail often is the best, and more games should have that." Like you pointed out, Dan, that's a great feature, and you're not the only one to think so. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Let's see. Pogo on Twitter says, "I like the story overall, but sometimes I think they try too hard to shock the player. My favorite thing was the amazing recreation of Los Santos, a mock Los Angeles." I could see that as a fair critique of like, do they try too hard to shock the player? I mean, sometimes it gets pretty batshit. So, and I think if this is your vibe, like, totally. Like, I'm sure there are people who are like shocked but then love torturing someone. I bet some people are really about that. And for me, I just like, oh no. But again, I don't think I'm your
Grand
probably
Theft Auto
typical
in general
audience.
has always been about just going over the top and almost like cartoonish violence and cartoonish criminal activity. So it can get a bit much. I agree. And then I think lastly, Callum on Twitter says, haven't played the story mode, only online, but I love how detailed and alive the game's open world is. I agree. It's breathtaking sometimes, like how much detail they can pack into these worlds, for sure. Yeah.
That's good to hear that it feels that way online too. That's awesome. Cool. Well, that is Grand Theft Auto 5. So, if you have other thoughts on Grand Theft Auto 5, send them our way. Love to keep talking about this game, for sure. Connor, again, thanks for coming on again. This was a blast getting to talk another game with you.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, and again, where can people find you online and your work, all of that? Feel free to plug away.
Sure, yeah. You can find me on Twitter at Connor Howard VO. That's Connor with ER, not OR. You can also check out my website, ConnorHowardVO.com. You can listen to my demos. Just get to know me, reach out. And I actually have a new demo. It's kind of a sample of my acting. It's in my pinned tweet. It's also on my site as well. And if you want to hear more of my work on the podcast end of things, you can check out loreparty.com. They're also on Twitter at lore_party. So check that out. Lore Party's kind of on a between seasons break right now, but we are planning our next season. We're going to be coming back strong, so stay tuned for some good stuff. This last season, I put out some episodes I'm really happy with. We covered Elder Scrolls a little bit. I mean, I was psyched to finally talk Elder Scrolls. That's such a deep, wacky set of lore to pull apart. So yeah, check those out, and don't be a stranger. Hit me up, and we'll talk games, talk voice acting, things like that. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. It was great to be here on Greatest Story Ever Played again. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, go check Connor's stuff out. Podcast, the episodes he's on are really enjoyable. They cover a lot of cool games on there, many of which we've covered too. So you can go deeper or see new angles on stories that we've talked about. Really cool. And yeah, if you'd like to get in contact with us, our Twitter handle is @StoryEverPod. Come chat on there. Our website's TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.com. That's got a backlog of all of our episodes and links to any podcast server you'd use to listen to stuff. So go check those out if that interests you. Our website's patreon.com, or our Patreon is patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. There, for as little as $1 per month, you can get access to monthly bonus episodes we do for things that are usually video game related, like talking about our favorite characters or favorite franchises, or doing things that aren't video game related occasionally, like talking about The Mandalorian Season 1 a few months ago. We did that. That was cool. So that's all there if you're interested in that. That's the episode, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.